Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Erin's Book Club. I have another book review to do today, and I'm actually a bit conflicted on how I feel about it. So let's just start off by saying this is not going to be spoiler free. When I talk about books, I want to talk all about books. So the book that I'm going to do, read it and come back, or understand that there's going to be spoilers. The other thing is, Stephen King is my all-time favorite author, to the point where I love whatever he writes, even the books that I really shouldn't because they're not written very well. I understand they're not written very well, and I understand that they have problems. I still love them. Not going to change. So now that you guys know that, let's continue on. The book review I have to do today is Stephen King's Fairy Tale. Now, first of all, this cover. Oh my word, this cover. Gorgeous. Love it. One of my favorite covers by him. That being said, I was very conflicted about this book. I was very unsure about this book, to the point that when I did finish this book early this morning, I actually wrote down what I thought about it the moment that I was done, because I didn't want to miss anything about how I felt about it. And it's funny because this is one of the newer books that I've ever bought right away from him. Usually I have to save up, so the books from him that I read are older because I can't afford to buy the brand new books. But this one I kind of splurged a bit. And in the end, I think I'm glad that I did, but it left me conflicted. So I'm going to actually read to you what I wrote after reading the book, because I think it's going to give me a better insight as to how I feel about it. So, at first I was angry when reading this. I wanted a story of a boy and his dog, a story exploring what it meant to be able to keep a pet alive, and what happens when death's not a thing anymore. A story about the importance of loss and grief and what it really means to go through these emotions. What I felt I got was two jarring stories in one. Start with the dog, drag the dog to drag us in, and then rip the dog away, turn it into a Hunger Games thing, and introduce a chosen one trope. I was angry, and I felt cheated of a good story. And then when Charlie got out of the dungeon and finally reunited with Radar, only to go back into the place he left, I felt cheated of my happily ever after. At this point, though, I completely forgot that I was reading a Stephen King story, who rarely gives a happy ever after. But I was wrong. I should have just shut my emotions up and read the King, I know. The end ties everything up in a believable way. It isn't all rainbows and sunshine, but it's real. The final fight of the Dark Prince and the Good Prince to a satisfying end. And I want to add a few things to that, because this is not what I know of as King. King is horror, and King makes you disturbed, and King makes you have trouble sleeping at night. That's what I love about King. This was not it. This was a fairy tale. This was not scary. This was not as disturbing as he usually makes it. It was a good story, but it wasn't the King I know. That being said, it was a very, very good book, and it was one of the happiest endings I've ever read from him, and it was a happy ending that was believable, because it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, and there was a responsibility in the end to decide what to do with this other world. And it's an interesting outlook. I think at the same level, we did have the discussion of how valuable death is in the world. But at the same time, it wasn't beat into your head about, here's the moral of death. Here is why you need to grieve. I don't know. I really enjoyed the book. I read this book. This is one of the bigger books I've read in a long time. It's, let's see, 598 pages. And I read it in just over a week and a bit. I really enjoyed it. It was a fun story. And it was really nice to step back into my favorite author. So all in all, I enjoyed it. I recommend it. I will especially recommend it to people who are new to King and maybe aren't ready for some of his more crazy work. This is a nice, safe King book. And you know what? I think I like it. I think I really like it. So I will let you know when I have another book read, and you guys have a great day.